Welcome back to the Nerdrotic channel. My name is Gary Beekler. I am live in San Francisco, California, and I come to you from nerdrotic.com, and we have a very special episode of Blossom today. We have Darick Robertson, co-creator of Transmetropolitan, The Boys, all kinds of stuff. Finally on our channel, man. What's up, Darick?
How you doing, Gary?
Hi,
everybody.
I'm good. Right now, I'm hearing myself again. There we go. That needs to go away. And we're also joined by Dennis Bethalkis, my co-host down in San Diego. What's up?
Hey, nothing much. Same as usual. Welcome, Darick.
Hi, Dennis. Thank you.
So we have you here. You've been a busy little beaver lately.
Yeah, a space beaver.
Yes. Oh, yeah. A creator of Space Beaver. I can't forget.
It's a little space beaver.
Have they done anything with Space Beaver? Or they reprinted that?
I just had a conversation with Dynamite about maybe doing an omnibus, and they were open to it. So, you know, that's not an official announcement, but I have a couple things that I'm kind of. It's strange the enthusiasm for that book is coming back around in a way that was never there before. But I still think just as a curiosity piece, people would probably like an omnibus so they could just see where it all began. But at the same time, it's not work that I'm not ashamed of it by any means. I was only 17. So the fact that I wrote and drew a comic for 11 issues at that age, I guess it's nothing to be embarrassed about, but yet I am, because it's work that I look and I go, oh, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just making comics, and it wasn't a very good, it's not a bad story. It had potential, but it just never found I don't think it was almost like a Seinfeld-like comic book in that it wasn't about anything. Like they never really found a direction.
I saw you put some of that art on your Twitter and stuff.
Yeah,
it still looks great, you know. And
what's amazing is that I was we have a space that we've been needing to clear out for years, and we're finally doing that job here at the Shea Robertson. But I found all this original art from when I was a teenager. Paintings I did fantasy paintings. I did all the stuff that when I just was kind of trying to be an artist. And in the midst of all of that, I mean, I thought all the Space Beaver art was completely gone, and I still expect to never see any of it again. However, I found the original cover to #1. So wow. I was just so excited to find that cover, the hand-painted cover with the mock-up and everything. Then I was like, oh my God, it's like I was like Indiana Jones, like this belongs in a museum. Because it's so rare, like I have anything from Space Beaver.
That's brilliant. We got a couple super chats already. That's when people give us money. Yeah. Movie Fanobi $4.99. Welcome, Darick. Thanks for your creativity, talent, and personal time with us. You have some great creations, and we're looking forward to what's next. And he also gives another one, $1.99, Space Beaver for life.
Awesome.
That's right. Yeah, Movie Fanobi's a regular here. We got quite a few people here. Welcome, everybody. We'll get to your, if you got any questions, go ahead and shoot them. We are here for about a half an hour. You know, Darick's given us his time, and we're appreciative of that. And honestly, this is the first time he and I have actually talked in a long time. You know, we've both been kind of busy. But I don't know. I guess the big thing is The Boys. I don't know what you're allowed to talk about. Just talk about what you're allowed to talk about. I don't want to get you in trouble or anything. But
no spoilers.
No spoilers.
Not allowed to spoil anything. I can say how much I like it. I could say that I've read the scripts. I've seen the rough cut of the pilot, and I've met the cast, and I've been on set. So between all of those things, I feel like I really know what we're in for. And I think if you love the comic, you're going to be pleasantly surprised, but with the emphasis on surprise, because it doesn't follow the timeline of the comic. It does its own thing, but everything that makes it work and all the characters, they did a great job at capturing them. They've created some characters that weren't in the comic. They've combined some characters from the comic into a new character, things like that they need to do so the show has legs, because at the end of the day, a comic book is a comic book and a TV show is a TV show, and they can't perfectly mirror each other. It just doesn't work. But is it hard hitting? Yes. Is it gonna Is it violent? Yes. Is it raunchy? Yes. Is it funny? Yes. It's what made the comic work, and it's got an incredible cast, and it's in good hands with Darick Robertson. He could be cooler and couldn't be more excited.
So since you've been on set and that, and who's the most, I guess you could say that when you were creating the artwork and the comic itself, who actually captures it the most since you've been on set, that you were looking at them and just
Anthony Starr as Homelander, he just kills it.
Yeah,
he is just great. Erin Moriarty, who plays Starlight, she's as adorable and beautiful, and then tough as nails as she needs to be. So out of the 7, like, I mean, everybody's great. I don't want to what's the word, like, insult by omission and say, well, these guys, I mean, just for me, for what the costume looks like and everything, like, those two are really spot on, but everybody plays their parts incredibly. And Carl Urban is so intimidating as Butcher. He couldn't be a nicer person as a human, but when he's not in character, but man, when he's in character, it's like you want to steer clear a little bit because he's very Butcher. He really captures it.
Nice.
And my friend, Jack Quaid is just an incredible Huey, and I got to, now that the cat's out of the bag, I went to the set to specifically say hi to Simon Pegg and thank him for all of his support over the years. I'm so happy that he got a role in the show and was willing to do it, and did, he's playing Huey's dad, and even Simon was like, no, he's a better Huey than I could have been. And so there's a lot of, like, everybody's happy. It was like everybody in the crew, everybody was just having a good time, and you could tell they were genuinely enthusiastic about this show. And that's a good feeling. Apparently I said, not that I'm not really experienced with this because this is all new to me, but what was really exciting was to hear from people that were working on it that's unusual, that to get on a show and have everybody getting along and everybody have that kind of, like, mutual enthusiasm all the way through. But apparently the show, The Boys, is like that. I think that has a lot to do with Kripke, who's a showrunner.
Nice. Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Eric Kripke.
Me too. Yeah.
Supernatural, the first 5 seasons that he put together was awesome.
Yeah,
just awesome.
He speaks very lovingly of this show, the way he spoke of that one. So
yeah. Oh, nice. Very nice.
I think we're in for. I think it's going to be, if it finds its audience, it's going to be a good. It's going to be a good run.
Very cool.
I'm optimistic.
No, I think it's at the right place. Sorry, Dennis, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we also had a couple of questions here. Kato Rowan says, are there secrets behind the blanket?
Just some bodies.
Nothing exciting.
Nothing exciting. Just a wall.
My studio is a mess, and so I thought this would look nicer than looking at my messy studio. I'm in the middle of a transition of moving stuff out, so a lot of cardboard boxes and things like that behind. They're not exciting.
No.
And
be nicer looking.
Man of Action asks here, can we expect a Hero-gasm crossover?
I don't know. Not in the first season.
I would suspect, this is just me speculating as Gary. If it goes like probably like 3 or 4 seasons, maybe. Hero-gasm still has one of my favorite covers ever. So the cocaine one. So for obvious reasons, but that would be cool. That would be cool.
I know there's a lot they want to do. And again, I can't say too much. I hope that wasn't saying too much.
No.
I don't think I'm going to get in trouble for saying what's not in there, but no, it's the whole first season does a great job of setting up things. There's reveals from the comic that happen within the first season that happened much later in the comic. So it's really interesting how they've moved the timeline around and how they've made it work. But I've heard that they really would love to keep exploring this world. They're hoping, I mean, it's not out yet, so we don't know if there will be a season 2 or not. I'm optimistic, but if they get further seasons, they'll keep diving deeper into the world.
I think we will. I think there's the right people behind this. We have been talking about this show since we first heard about it. Of course, I'm biased. So what? But it being on Amazon is the best place possible for this.
I'm very excited that it's going for a streaming service because, one, you get to enjoy it. at your leisure. We don't have to worry about advertisers getting nervous with content, which has affected that book from the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, DC getting cold feet in the beginning back when we launched at Wildstorm. So we don't have to worry about that element with Amazon. Apparently they've been very supportive. I mean, just walking around the set and seeing how much they've put into it, and Sony it's just amazing. It's a beautiful production. At the minimum, I mean, the scope of these sets, there's 16 feet tall, like bas relief of the 7 that I thought when I first showed it to me was like a painted mural. They really built this thing, and it's 16 feet tall. I mean, it's massive. I don't know if you can show pictures, but can you share pictures on this thing? I don't know how.
Yeah, I can if you send them to me like on Twitter, maybe.
Yeah, hang on.
Send it through Twitter. DM me.
Can I phone it to you?
I can't show. Well, then I would have to show it on my phone, but I could.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, but if you DM me through Twitter, I could share it.
Rich Silverwood actually asks here. He says, "Can I just let Darick know how much I loved Happy? I can't wait for season 2."
Yeah, I hope it's good.
Yeah. Thanks, Rich. It's good to see you. And Mr. Twisted 72, Man of Action, Movie Fanobi, Sculpted Leather Art by Viking Bitch, Kato Roan. Look at those wrenches. Pen Farm Girl, Alexis Valens. How are you? Good to see you. Mary Ashmead, Dr. Venkman. It's good to have a Ghostbuster in the house. Always helpful. Dark Angel Ire, Silhouetted Animator. This is a good. Will it have a similar tone to Preacher? My guess would be, yeah. I don't know how much of Preacher you've seen.
No, I don't think it's like Preacher at all, to be honest.
Really? Okay.
But I don't mean that in any kind of derogatory way about Preacher. There's just very different subject matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This feels like its own thing. Plus, while Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are producers, it's like that show is being run by, I believe, Sam Mendes, and the showrunner really puts the tone on their show. So. From what I understand, from what I've seen, I think it's its own thing very much. So the fact that they're both co-created by Garth is the only through line. But this is just the same as the comic of the Boys and the Preacher comic are not alike at all.
No, maybe the only in similarities where they don't hold back. Preacher doesn't hold back.
I think we're going to have even more room than Preacher did. I think they're going to, because of the
Amazon. Yeah,
because being on Amazon.
Amazon, it's not like on a broadcast like AMC.
Yeah, or Happy being on Sci-Fi, which
right?
Is
and
NBC,
I think both those shows are great, and then Sci-Fi has done a wonderful job of adapting Happy and giving them the room they need. So
yeah, I was actually really pleasantly surprised that they went as weird and left as much in as they did.
Yeah, it's very faithful to the comic.
Yeah. I mean, it's good stuff. I mean, Patton Oswalt as the voice for Happy is awesome.
Yeah, he's terrific.
Yeah, and as far as the Boys on Amazon, well, we don't have a release date. I'm not going to ask, so don't worry. We don't. I'm sure it's sometime next year, and that's exciting. This is almost Amazon's like that, or HBO would have been the only place it could have gone to be done right.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy. Amazon Prime is a great. And it almost was on Cinemax, which I'm sure would have been fun, but I think it's going to have a lot more access, and then plus it's going to be easy for people that are interested to just buy the comic right there on Amazon if they want. Comixology, it's all like nicely intertwined.
Yes. And not only that, they can link into the other stuff that you've done. I'm sorry?
So make sure you go to your local comic book shop.
Yeah. Actually, Sculpted Leather Art by Viking Bitch says, I have started reading Transmetropolitan, and it's fantastic. You're a very talented artist, Darick.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too, is
those are good years.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, this is going to bring in other, fans to other stuff that you've done as well. Comic properties and things like that. Hopefully, yeah. And anything, I know you're starting to finally get stuff out there in live action from your art. Anything that you would you know, you personally would like to see go into a live action series or a movie that you've done?
You know, believe me, after the experience I've had on The Boys, everything I've created, I would like to see turned into live action.
Yes,
just because it's fun and it's not a bad way to make a paycheck. But no, I you know, there's things I can't talk about. So there are conversations happening about all kinds of stuff all the time.
Yeah, no.
But as soon as I can, I'll be happy to come back on and talk about things in detail. But right now I can't say things about things because they're things
that
are in things. Yeah.
In things. Hey, you got a comic book coming out.
I do. That I can
in January. Yes.
Oliver with Gary Whitta. I don't know if you guys have heard of this movie franchise. It didn't kind of find its audience the way I thought it should have, but Star Wars, not Star Trek, but Star Wars. Have you guys heard of this?
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
With the robots and the
and the spaceships,
the
dog,
the Daleks, or
big talking dog,
and
no, not Daleks, but no, they Gary wrote Rogue One, the prequel to New Hope, a Star Wars story, and he and so that's he's the writer of Oliver, and it's a kind of a alternate timeline steampunk reinterpretation of Oliver Twist in a post-apocalyptic future, and or post-apocalyptic alternate timeline, because I kind of made it anachronistic intentionally, since it's based on a taking Dickens and, no pun intended, twisting it.
Twisting Dickens?
Yeah, Dickens. That's my new band name. But that comes out in January. I'm very excited about it. I've been working on it for literally 15 years, which is insane when I think about how many stops and starts we've had with the project. I know I've showed you, Beekler, like years ago.
Yes,
I was doing on it, you know, and you were like, "Hey, this looks great. When's it come out?" And I'm like,
2019. Hey, I got a picture of the cover that's in previews. I'm going to share it with everybody.
Who's putting it out, by the way, Darick?
It's going to be an Image comic.
Image. Nice.
Yeah, available at your local comic book store, also probably Amazon and stuff like that. So, yeah, Darick's a bit of a hack artist. So, I mean, just if you can get by the art and get to the good writing from Gary Whitta. No, what I have seen of this cover and stuff, and it even Mark Millar says this on one of the ads and previews, and I totally agree. Some of the best work of your career. It's amazing. This is going to be a cool story. I actually have video of you designing a version of that logo.
Follow up with you about that, because we ended up not using that logo, but there is a lot of video that you came and took, like you documented Gary and I working on this on the first issue. So you actually have some pretty cool footage for the future.
Yeah. Once we get the okay, and of course I will send you anything, all the raw stuff if you want it. And
I mean, if you wanted to run it on the show or whatever, we could probably. I'm sure I could get Gary to come on and talk to you guys too. So
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great if you can, when you can, of course. Oh hell yeah! Just got goosebumps.
He's really excited. It's been nice because his career blew up huge in the interim. When we started on the comic years ago, he was just starting out as a screenwriter, and he didn't really have much in the way of comics out there. And I couldn't do the book, but then over the years we just got to be great friends, and then it just started to grow kind of naturally from there. And now it's at a point where we committed to it, and then I kept getting interrupted. I did this little book called The Boys. I don't know if you heard about it. So that happened. And then I did Happy, and then it kept kind of derailing Oliver. But in that time, Gary was, like I said, loafing around, writing Star Wars movies, just wasting his time. But now he's got Star Wars, so yeah, big time. He could have been writing comics for me, but no, he's been very patient, and but it's been good because I think now is the right time for not only the story thematically. It's my level best work because I've had the time to just put into it. I'm not under that monthly deadline, and so I've been able to really detail things in a way that I haven't before, and I'm having a great time drawing it. Every time I'm working on the pages, I'm just in a good place.
Nice.
And Viking Bitch actually has a question for you.
Yes.
Darick, how many hours do you typically spend drawing?
It depends on what the project is and what the deadline is. So on a normal work day, anywhere from 8 to 12. But, you know, that's with breaks and, you know, staying at my board. But, you know, I think it depends on how intense the image is, too. Like if I'm drawing something like, I don't know if you read Ballistic, but there's like this scene with a car flying over the city. That city took me days, you know. But, you know, if it's Talking Heads page where we're just getting a lot of dialogue, those kind of pages tend to go a little quicker.
Yeah. Oh, go on, Darick.
No, sorry, I was just going to ask. Rich Silverwood also had a question going back to your screenplays. There says, I have a screenplay which I'm getting positive feedback on. It's intended to be a film, but I'm considering joining forces with an artist to put the story out as a comic. Do you have any advice?
One, does it need to be a comic, or do you just want to do it so you get your movie made? Because a lot of times people think that just because they make something into a comic, it'll work as a comic. I would question that. Other things I would say that, you know, if you're doing it as a shortcut to get your movie made, I can't recommend that will work for you. A lot of people are trying that route, and people are they're smelling that out a little bit. But if it really would make a great, I believe that for me with Oliver, for example, and all the other stuff that's been adapted, I just wanted them to be good comics. Even if like nothing ever happened with them on screen, I'm still happy that those are good comics. That Transmet is still a good comic, even if it never becomes anything on TV or a movie or anything. I'm proud of that comic, and that's what I'm trying to put into Oliver. So if like something happens with Oliver, great. But if it's just a great comic, I think those things should stand on their own. So make sure it works as a comic first and not as a shortcut to a production. That would be my advice.
Could not agree more.
Exactly.
And I mean, like, hey, and we want you to get your script. I don't want to make it sound like that, but I mean, comics are a beautiful, you know, medium that I think they're my favorite. You can do the most in them. There's no restrictions except for, you know, how much time the artist has. And allow me to brag for Darick a little bit here. This man inks his own stuff. He doesn't cheat at all. And I'm going to show, that's what I was digging around for. That's that picture Darick was talking about. And this is insane.
Yeah, that's many days. That was 4 days of work.
Wow.
Asking me how long something takes, that's 4 days of work.
I couldn't do this in 40 years. I mean, like that is so good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's, you know, and he's just getting better. Okay. Like some artists, you know, each person creatively has their time, right? And sometimes it's a few years. Sometimes people get better with age. Sometimes people get looser with age, you know? And Darick is getting better. He's getting better, and his stuff was good to begin with. So yeah, I'll brag for you, man. Cece, thank you for
time helps. It makes a big difference from what you can do when you're not under the pressure of a monthly deadline.
Yeah. And maybe, you know, God, hopefully things are changing. So hopefully that, you know, deadlines are not necessary.
I'll tell you this, as far as working with Image Comics goes, they're very hands-on. They've already worked out the schedule for next year with me. I already know when everything's due. Everything's on track. And that makes a big difference, because sometimes you're kind of lost in the dark. You're not sure what the dates are. If you miss the date, you don't know what the next date is. So it's really nice that Image has already planned out and asked me, like, hey, what works for you? Not, hey, this is what you're going to do, but hey, what works for you? So that's been very exciting. That makes me feel good about next year.
Nice.
I have another question. Sorry, Dennis, from Viking Bitch, which was, what subjects inspire you most?
Like physically, or
what inspires you artistically, or is it just?
I like to draw things. I like to draw things that have emotion in them. Like if there's emotion and it's dramatic or funny, I like to try to capture that. Anything where I can make my characters act, I like that. Those kind of things. I like where I can have a lot of freedom to be creative with the designs, where I'm not like working on model from something where I have to keep looking it up or go, you know, try to make it look like the real world. I'm much more excited when I can do fantastic worlds, like Ballistic is a good example. or Transmet was like the most fun because it was an anything goes world that anything I imagined fit in that world. And I could follow my instincts, but it was like a gritty, realistic city at the same time. So,
in those same lines, the Filthy Farmer also asked, growing up, who your inspirations and what made you choose the direction you went in today?
I really fell in love with comics when I was about 10 years old. My favorite artists back then were like Neil Adams and John Byrne and Paul Smith. And I loved, my first comic ever was The Flash. And I used to have these, you remember, Gary, you remember Peter Pan records?
Yes.
Comic books you need to read along.
Yep.
That had great Neil Adams art in it. So I was like, I remember I had a Man-Bat one and I had a Superman one where he was like flying over the city and it was like a photographed city. But the foreshortening that Neil Adams was able to do was just so like, it was like looking at a magic trick. Like I didn't understand how you could draw something that looked like it was reaching out to you. And even at that age, I'm determined to figure it out,
Yeah.
And I said, so that stuff got me off on comics at a young age and those artists. And then later I was about 13. I think I discovered Brian Bolland with Judge Dredd and Camelot 3000. And he's been probably my favorite artist. And then as I got a little older, I found Heavy Metal Magazine and discovered Mobius and Mila Manara. And then a little later, Watchmen and Dark Knight came out, and I was already a big Daredevil, Frank Miller fan. So like that was like another level up on those guys for his storytelling and his way of laying out a page. I love Frank Miller. I don't draw anything like him, but I love his storytelling. He's a genius. And then Dave Gibbons as well, how he could work in all that different medium where like the Black Freighter looked different than the content of the Watchmen, and then it all kind of flowed together beautifully. And the way he would do retro pieces and then what was 80s modern pieces at the same time within the same story. Pretty impressive. So I like a lot of UK guys, apparently. I've discovered like the UK style really influenced me. I didn't know that's what it was at the time.
Nice.
Yeah. No, Gibbons is somebody I don't know, man. I liked him when I was reading The Watchmen. I just learned to appreciate him more. Well, actually meeting him too was cool.
It's just one of those guys that like, I have that whenever I go through the Transmetropolitan covers, I just go, I got Dave Gibbons, Mobius did 3 covers. I mean, all these people drawing my character that I designed. And I was like, wow, that still just takes my breath away. Like when I think about how many great artists worked on the covers for Transmet, and I got to draw the interior of every one of them. So
nice. Nigel Brought Savage, our one of our resident Brits, says, yes, we inspire the world. Yeah, so we got a couple minutes left. Dennis, you want to try to maybe find another couple questions?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Filthy Farmer and and Viking Leather Bitch said thank you for answering their questions, Darick. On that.
CC left a super chat too. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thanks for Happy and Transmetropolitan. I love those comics. I look forward to watching The Boys on Amazon from CC. Thank you for the $5. We appreciate it.
Thank you, CC.
Nice. And then we also there was one other one. Here we go. Andrej Marek, I probably mispronounced your name there. Do you need to exercise any extra level of self-control or restraint in terms of what and how you can express yourself to not blow back on whoever you're working with?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. It's sometimes that would be the hardest thing about being a collaborator is that in our industry, we work in isolation for the most part, where most people are used to having a job and they got to deal with a commute and then they deal with office politics and that kind of stuff. It's a weirdly isolating business that we work in. So a lot of times you might work with somebody for years and never actually meet them face to face. So your email etiquette makes a big difference. Your phone call etiquette makes a big difference. And sometimes the pressure of the job can make you might not be having the best day because you've been awake trying to meet a deadline for 36 hours and you can barely see straight, and you're trying to handle business, or you keep and artists are not known for not being emotional. That's a very good question. Yes, it does take a level of discipline. And if you are dealing with this yourself, I highly recommend reading books on conflict resolution and meditating.
Word. Yes. Oh man. So we got to wrap it up right there because Darick's got to go. But thank you so much, everybody in the chat. Thanks for joining us, Darick. Thank you for giving us time. And hopefully we can talk again soon, sometime, like maybe after The Boys comes out and things settle down a little bit.
Sure. Well, I'm happy. Maybe we can work something out for when Oliver comes out. On I said, I'd see if I can get Gary to.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
We'd love to do, like a premiere for that, when it comes out. That would be really cool.
Well, I know we appreciate all the support we can get. It is an indie comic. Ultimately, Image is publishing it, but we are basically producing it. And they've been incredibly supportive, and they're wonderful over there. But it's not like Marvel and DC. It's really like every Image comic you see is that creator's property and project. So, Oliver needs your support, and I appreciate anybody that's already signing up and pre-ordering it. That really helps us.
Yeah. Nice. Go order your copy today. And thank you, Movie Fanobi, for the $1.99 super chat. He says, thanks, Darick. So talented and relaxed person.
Oh, thanks.
Yes. All right, everybody. Thank Dennis. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. That was awesome.
And thanks, Darick. Darick, of course, is plugging Oliver, and you can follow him on Twitter. And he's a busy guy. And thanks again, Darick. I really appreciate it.
Hey, it was my pleasure. Nice talking to everybody. Thanks for all the great questions.
All right. Cheers, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.